Baptist convention, everybody's kind of sitting in the back of the room. I want to welcome y'all here today. I want to thank y'all for all coming. I know it was probably a struggle for some of us to even get out and mingle in the public, you know, after all this has happened. I'm going to do a few housekeeping things. You know, if you don't feel comfortable being around somebody here, we have an overflow room around the corner by the registration desk that you can go in, and it's live streamed just like it is here. All of this will be live streamed, so if you don't want to see what's going on or you feel like you need to get out of the room for a minute or do whatever you got to do, know you can come back. All of this is going to be on your email. Each one of y'all have a link to this live stream, so you can go back and look at it again and again and again. Let's see. I just want to thank all of y'all again, and know that it took us a minute to put this together, because we were going to have a huge conference back in March. We had over 57 booths sold. You know, it was going to be starting in that Chicago mode, you know. We actually went to Chicago and spent some time with Judy Fishman from LMT, and she's going to try to come down here, or was, still is, but wants to try to do something here like they do in Chicago, so that we can make this bigger and better every year. All my team, Richard, all the people on the board, they worked really hard to do this, so let's all give them a hand. We got some really, really, really good things going to happen today, tomorrow. So again, if you don't want to listen to a speaker or you're not interested in what's going on, right next door, it's open the whole time. So you can go in there and mingle and go around. Just know that there's one way in and one way out. So we're trying to not get shut down. So everybody's kind of got to follow the rules like cattle. We got to go in one door and out around and come out the other door. If you start going in, there's going to be people there and tell you, so don't feel offended if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, go that way. You know, don't get upset. We got a speaker this morning that's going to be coming up here in a few minutes that is probably the only non-dental person here. Ricki Braswell. She's going to be up here speaking to y'all. I can't think of anything else that I hadn't said. Let me think. Is there anything, Richard, that we got that we haven't covered? Oh. Yeah. So we're going to try to keep the crowding down in the exhibit hall. So that's why we're letting y'all get up and go when you don't want to see what might be going on in here. We're going to let y'all just feel free to get up and go. Just know this is where you sit. Well, all weekend where you're at right now, this is where you're going to be, in this seat, in the same place, doing everything that we're going to do is going to be right here in this room. So just make yourself comfortable in your chair. That's your house for a while. Okay? All right, I wanted to introduce Ricki. Is she in here already? Oh, there you are. All right, Ricki, it's your turn. Ricki Braswell, everybody.
Thank you so much. Okay, couple things. The only teeth I'm showing are the one in my face. So there is no teeth in my presentation. If you want to get up and go ahead. I get it. I will tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going to turn this one off because I think I'm going to I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Besides my name, I am Ricki Braswell. I know more about dentistry than most people that I know who have never worked in a laboratory or a dental practice. I started my career in nonprofits right out of college. My dad wanted me to go to law school, and I proved him wrong. With a dual major in political science and sociology, my father said, if you do not go to law school, you will not be able to have a career. I was a little bit afraid he was right. But then I fell into nonprofit work, and in 2000, I switched from one nonprofit organization to another, and I became the co-executive director of the National Association of Dental Laboratories. And during the 10 years that I was there, I helped Bennett Napier oversee NADL and NBC, and we started the Foundation for Dental Laboratory Technology. And it began my love affair with dentistry. I fell in love with the work that you do as CDTs and as dental technicians. When I was in the business for about 8 months, I had to speak to the ADA, and that was super fun. It was actually 19 years ago next month. I know because I was pregnant with my last child, and there was a whole bunch of conversation in front of the ADA about dental technology and about dental technology schools and whether we should be investing in that or not. And one of the things that I said kind of on the fly, but I've believed this for the last 19 years, is you make something only God before you made. And you do it every day, and we expect it to be exactly like what God made. Exactly. So thank you very much on behalf of all the patients that you will never see. After 10 years with Pankey, after 10 years with the NADL, I had this opportunity to go work for the Pankey Institute as their CEO. And I decided after 10 years of talking to dentists about the importance of education and how to take an appropriate impression and have good communication with your laboratory, I could switch to the clinical side and actually teach them. So I was at Pankey for 8 years, and last year I opened my own business and I began doing success coaching. And basically, I wanted to be able to help practices, help laboratories, and help nonprofits to be able to achieve their success. So just a little background about myself. I have a whole little pile of children at home that are not children anymore. My youngest is 18 and in college, and my boys, I have my 22-year-old son is in his last semester at the University of Miami, and then the 2 older boys have graduated. Thank you. I'm just so happy to have any child off payroll, you cannot imagine. So what are we going to talk about today? Today, I created this topic in November or December of last year. It seemed like an awesome topic to come out and talk to you guys about in March, right? We're going to create our success in 2020. Isn't that awesome? This is what it said when I created it at the end of last year. It says, there is the beauty of your dreams. This could be the best year you've had. I'm going to come up here and show you how to do it. Okay, yeah. I'm going to give you the roadmap. This is what we're going to do. So we're in October. This maybe wasn't the best year ever. I still do love this quote because I do believe in this. But I also believe in this. We sort of have to make our own decisions about where we're going. So if the one thing you're going to take away from today is that I believe in the empowerment. I believe that we make a decision about where we're going to go. Kate and I were talking about this last night when I was doing my AV check. And I said, there's this joke. I did not grow up Baptist. I grew up Catholic. So I can tell many of you are not Catholic because in Catholicism, we sit in the very front. Do you know why? Because we want to go ahead and take the wafer and get out. Besides the fact that in Catholicism, we serve wine right from the front of the room. Amen. But I did marry a Southern Baptist, and I did not understand that the men hanging out in the barn after church while the women were preparing lunch meant that they were drinking and we were sweating. So I'm proud to say I was the first generation that broke that. We serve wine with lunch on Sundays because that's our thing. So I literally wrote this at the top of my calendar. I actually did a presentation for NADL University last week, and it was on Zoom. And I was looking at my calendar in the beginning of the year, some notes that I had made, and I wrote this at the top of my calendar for 2020. Best year ever. Am I allowed to say bad words from up here? I'm not going to. But if I was going to say bad words, I'm just going to give you a second to decide what I would have said now, when I looked back at that. I could not decide if I wanted to laugh or cry when I saw him. I wrote that. Best year ever. I'm so sorry. I believe in such a power that I can be like really powerful in my own space in the universe. I'm so sorry if I did this to you guys. I feel like I jinxed the world with that. The world. But I was thinking, this is such a great year. One of my sons was going to buy his first house. My last son was graduating from college. My daughter was graduating from high school. This is going to be the best year. I cannot wait. What the heck? And last year I launched this business, and I was very excited about that. After years of working in nonprofits, I thought instead of working for one organization, I don't know if you all know, but when I started at NADL, they were not doing well financially. They had not been paying attention to their membership, and they were suffering. And so myself and my partner Bennett Napier came in, and we helped turn around the organization. And then I went to Panky, who is also a wonderful organization, but suffering financially, went in and turned around the organization. And I thought, gosh, rather than do it one at a time, I can help all kinds of businesses. This is going to be great. There's no better time to do this. And then COVID hit. And I thought, this was my little mission statement. I work with clients that they become friends with me, and together we help them grow their businesses. This is the best year until COVID. I can't decide if I want to keep taking pictures of this year because I do not believe my grandchildren are going to believe this. Like, I don't know, I mean, there's a different age range here, but if you're young and you've never heard this, this is mind-blowing. I remember my mom telling me that when she was younger, they would have these drills in her school, and they would put we lived in Miami, so they didn't have a jacket, but they'd put like their jacket over their head and they'd get under their desk for like a bomb drill. Did anybody have this? Is this true, right? You got under your desk and put your jacket under your head. I want to say a bad word again. What the? Like a nuclear attack, your plywood and laminate desk was going to stand between you and destruction. Okay. So I feel like my children or my grandchildren will feel the same way when I try to tell them that we what happened, where we are right now. I hope it's well documented because I think it's going to be interesting. But I'm not going to lie. The shutdown, although business-wise it was scary for me, it was not a bad time. All of our children ended up coming back home for some certain reasons. So all of a sudden we had a house full of like adults, except for my 18-year-old, who technically is an adult. She turned an adult during that time. And we had front yard happy hour every day. Every day at 5 p.m., we did happy hour in our front yard. 5 p.m., 5:15, we were well into it every day. And I never thought I would spend that much time with my adult children. Every day. So all of a sudden, these boys that I had nag growing up, were doing things like mowing the lawn without being asked, mixing new cocktails. I'm like, who knew? I should have known that they had a tremendous experience with gin because I sent them all to college, but it was the greatest thing. They were cooking dinner. It was not a bad gig. Not a bad gig. So I noticed this yesterday. COVID has changed everybody, right? It's left a lasting impression. You know what it did for me? I don't have a watch on. I know this sounds really weird, but my father was a police chief and time is very important. I don't have a watch on. I didn't realize this till yesterday when I was thinking about how I would keep my own time. I forgot to bring a watch. I haven't worn a watch since the middle of March. Now my children will make fun of me because since they got cell phones, they don't wear watches. But we couldn't stay there forever, right? So circumstances, we got to come out of COVID. I miss front yard happy hour, not going to lie. but we had to come out of COVID. I mean, now it's not about when COVID's over, which is what we talked about in March, right? When it's over, we'll all do. It's not when it's over. Smart people know we need to figure out how to run our businesses and run our lives with it. So that's what I want to do today. I want to say we're going to start right now. There's no reason that our goals have to start when a calendar year changes. You can start right now. It's the 2nd of October, right? You kind of already did. You came to this meeting. So I'm hoping that when we talk today, you will get in the conversation. Because if not, I'm scared that it'll get boring and somebody will fall asleep. And I'm super scared that somebody will be me, and it won't be that entertaining. So what I would really, really like today is for us to have some interaction, because that'll be a lot more fun for me, and I hope more fun for you too. I'm going to make this really easy. How many people have done strategic planning? That kind of boring thing? Oh, good, nobody. Any kind of planning for your laboratory, any kind of goal setting for your life? None? 1, 2. I love a whole group of virgins. So I'm going to make this easy. Normally, we don't. Why haven't you done it in the past? Is there a reason? Don't need it? Don't like to think that way? You have to shout it out. So you've planned it, but then abandoned it?
Not abandon it, but it's usually like, if I set a goal at a certain time, I'm going to have to adjust it. If time you do longer, I'm frustrated.
Okay, that's fair. So I think that most of the time when I've worked with organizations and I've been the exec of organizations and we do these like big strategic planning processes, for one, I find it to be a bit cumbersome. I mean, where do you want to be in 5 years? Girl, I do not know. I raised a pile of children. I'm thinking about like where I want to be Sunday. So for me, that long-term 5-year goal wasn't always an easy thing for me to envision. So I'm going to break this down. We're going to set some intentions, some goals today based on 5 sentences. And I believe there are 5 sentences you can answer. And this is the first sentence. And I'm going to invite you to write it down if you'd like, but I'm also going to say, just call them out. So if I said to you, fill in the blank, I am, what's the next word that you would use? I am. By the way, this is like the most powerful beginning sentence, I think, in the human language. I am. Anybody? Sure, yeah. I'm a doer. I'm a doer. I love this sentence because we already know something. What's your name? Don. We already know something about Don. Don's a doer. So Don's probably already like, I'm kind of antsy pants. I'm thinking about what I'm going to get out of today. I'm thinking about my accomplishments. Don's a doer. Who else? I am. Determined. That's amazing. Determined. I am. Motivated. I am. Snickering. So here are some of my I ams. I'm a mom. I'm a CEO. I'm a business owner. My family were immigrants. My grandparents were immigrants, but it was a long time ago, and so I'm an American. I would also have said, I am blonde. Now I say, I am COVID blonde, so I am, or COVID brunette, however we're going in that direction. I'm female. These are some of my I ams. I am a daughter. I have 3 sisters, so I can't escape that. So I'm a sister. I am really independent. I'm a woman. And I just have to say a quick aside to this. When I started with NADL, has anybody been to Cal Lab in Chicago before? So CalLab is a owner's meeting, and I was at CalLab, and the first year that I was at CalLab, it's now been quite some time ago, I went to the bathroom. There was no other women in the bathroom. I was literally the only woman in the bathroom. I knew probably the 4 or 5 other women who were in that business who owned labs, and that was it. And then the last time I went to CalLab, which was probably about 8 years ago or so, 7 years ago, there was a line for the women's room. So I thought that was really cool. So I don't think that if you're male, you need to apologize for that. I say thank you so much for creating this, these wonderful businesses and showing women as we've come up what a great opportunity there is to earn money in this business. But I would say for every woman who's stepped into this business, thanks. Thanks for not making it a lonely place. If you've been in a while, you know that there weren't that many women. I'm a mother, I'm a college grad, I'm a CEO, I'm a friend, I'm a leader. And then there's some things that I know. I like people. And I love to meet new people, and I like to create new experiences. And I have learned, especially in the last couple of years, especially this year, that I am stronger than I thought I could be. So I'm more tenacious than I thought I could be. Any other I ams? So I'm asking you to think about what you are, because I think that, like when Don said, I'm a doer, there's something in our minds when we have to set our intention about what we are, because that tells us what we have to live to. So if Don says, I'm a doer, and thank you for being first, I have a small prize for you. If Don says, I'm a doer, then the rest of Don's outlook is set by that. I'm a doer. So it means he's thinking, I can't sit idly by, right? You're not the person who's going to wait to see what happens. You're the person who's going to decide what's going to happen, right? Are you a planner, or are you a spontaneous doer? You're a planner. So most of the time, doers are planners. Most of the time. Why? Because it helps us shape the outcome. It helps us be able to know, like, we can be a little bit in control of something. So most of the time, doers are planners. Not always. Not always. There's some spontaneous doers, but most people who would say that would also like to plan. So number one thing, answer it. Figure out I am. So I noticed something about this when I was thinking about I am, and I made my I am list a long time ago. The 5 sentences I'm going to ask you to answer truly are my 5 strategic planning questions I ask myself all the time. And the cool thing about it, to answer you, is they change. So the 5 questions I'm going to ask you to fill in the blanks for, they change my answers. And that's okay, because this is a working plan. And my working plan is how I can be more successful, how I can give back to the universe in a better way, how I can be a better mom. So the answer to these are my working strategic plan for myself, which also help guide my business. So I did this, like I said, I did this presentation because I was originally going to do it in March, and I just had to refresh it. And something came up to me because I did something, and I realized I had to add one other I am to my list. I am my mother. I am my mother. I'm blushing saying it because it's the best and worst thing, right? Because I am my mother in the good ways. Like, I love to cook, and I love to have my family around and things like that. And I am my mother in the really strange ways. And it's because I heard my boys making fun of me the other day. And the things that they were saying, I was like, holy cats, I am my mother. Don't tell my sisters, because they will never let me live it down. My sisters are my mother too, and I knew that, and I've made fun of them for a long time. I just didn't know that I had become my mother too. So here's the second question. The second one is, I want. I want. This is interesting. I believe, this is anecdotal, my opinion, I believe that we are making ourselves not think in terms of this anymore. Somehow, like societally, it's become impolite to voice a want. So we have these really big extremes, right? We have like all these people we see on social media that are like, you know, disgusting media hogs who want all these things and seem to not care about anybody else. But like the regular you and me's, right? When's the last time you really thought about I want, not like I want a pizza, but what do you want? Success, okay? I want success. And so if you don't mind me playing with you for a second, thank you. So what does that mean? Like when you think I want success, what is success? What are some of the components of success for you? Knowledge? What else? Security? Provide for my family. So are we afraid to say money?
More money so that I don't have to be dictated by money.
Yeah.
If I want to say yes, I'll say yes. If I want to say no, I'll say no. And not have money to dictate my life.
You're never going to believe that I did not plant Larry in the back of the room, right? You're never going to believe that. But so this is such an interesting thing, like this country that was raised, my grandparents immigrated from Italy. They didn't know each other at the time. They were young teenagers when they both came to the United States. And my grandfather became a postal worker, and my grandmother became a waitress. But that was their thing. My grandparents wanted to earn enough money to buy a house. Just one house. Not a beach house, not just one house. And my grandparents, the house they bought in like 1947, I believe, 1946, I think, was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom. In Miami, we would call them a bungalow house, a little 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. The 1-bedroom was like half the size of this stage. 3-bedroom, 1-bath bungalow house. That was what my grandparents wanted, to earn enough money to buy a home that they would have forever. So I want you to think about, I want. Yeah. And it's okay if part of what you want is more money. It's okay if part of, I want, like one of the things that I said when I was doing this last year, and this changes all the time for me, but I wanted time. I wanted enough time. So it's so strange. When I was younger, when I was in college, I remember my dad picked me up. I flew home one time, and my dad and I were in the car. My father was a wonderful mentor for me. And we're in the car, and he says to me, like I wasn't going to go to law school. We were having that really difficult conversation. And he said, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, Daddy, I just want to earn enough money to be able to live and be able to make some of my own choices and not really be dependent on other people. And my dad said, okay. A couple years later, my career was going okay. I had at least one little boy at the time. I think I had 2 little boys at the time. My dad said, what do you want? I said, I want to be able to earn enough money to live independently and not have to depend on other people, and to be able to take care of my family, take care of my children. I want my children to be able to have college paid for like I did. Careful what you ask for. I am paying for college forever. Forever. And one of them got into this private school, and I was so proud. Now, it's a good thing he was second to last, because I'm like, state school, state school. So that's what I thought I wanted. Do you know what and my father said to me, when you're young, you want money. You've got so much time, and you want money. And as you get older, you know that you don't have enough time, and you'll trade money to get more time. So one of the things I want is time. And it's part of the reason I went out and did my own business, because I wanted the time. Ooh, I need. So if you know who you are, I am, and you know what you want, what do you need? And it could be twofold. You could take this question, this sentence twofold. One could be, what do I need in order to support who I am and getting what I want? Or it could just be fundamentally like, what do I need? Like most days of the week, if you said, Ricki, fill in, I would say sleep. Real quick like that, sleep. When my kids were little, I would have said, quiet. I need quiet. I think every parent should have a third arm. When they give you a child, I think they should give you another appendage, like not the child, because the child becomes another appendage, but I mean like another arm to hold your child. So I need. What about I need? I need money. Patience. Was that you? Patience, thank you. Yeah, what else? Larry, what do you need? Ooh, better health. And more time. But it's so funny, right? If we have a lot of money, but we don't have a lot of time, all these weird things that people say when you're younger, like, my children are I'm on the 18th hole of being a mom of young children. So they say that when your kids are little, people say, it's gonna go so fast. Oh gosh, it'll go so fast. Anybody have little kids? Kids are under 10, like little kids, yeah. So people say this to you, it's gonna go so fast. And all of a sudden you think to yourself, I wish it would go faster. Like on the day that they're having a fit, I'm not gonna lie, I was that mom that had, like they were lined up, and I was trying to get them in the car, and number one's in the car and buckled, number two's in the car and buckled, and I live in Florida, it's hot. Well, we're in Texas, so you guys understand heat, because I go to other places and they're like, oh, it gets so hot in here in the summertime. I'm like, unless you have triple digits, you are nothing to me. So it's so hot, right? You're baking your kid. You got to worry about burning your child with the seatbelt latch, right? And then the third child decides they don't want to get in the car seat. And I am forearm. Does everybody know this technique, the forearm? That you have to use your forearm to help bend your child here. Come on, don't lie. Do not lie. Y'all have been to a Walmart. Even if you didn't do it, you've seen it. You're sweating like crazy, your shirt is sticking to you, and you have to use your forearm to bend the child, to bend them into the seat so you can clip them in. Oh, come on, really, just me? I thought we had trust, but I feel like y'all are lying. You never did it, though? So what happens is I have 100%, I have done the mother. I'm going to call you. So I have done the mother look. The problem is when there's too many of them. So when you get more than like two of them, and there's somebody always the odd man out that's looking at the other ones going, we don't need to do that. Okay, forget. When we tape this whole thing, we're gonna just totally erase the whole forearm thing because apparently it was just me. So think about what you need. And again, believe it or not, these things are all part of your strategy. What do you need to get to what you want? And really, ultimately, to fulfill who you are. And it may be big things or small things. You might say, I want to grow my dental laboratory. I want to have a more predictable Crown and Bridge department. I want to attract more doctors, the kind that I like, not just any old kind of doctor. So those might be your I wants. And then I need to what? So when I wanted to have more time and I wanted to have my own business and I wanted to help more other people's businesses, I had to decide, what do I need to do that? It's like, I guess I need a website, although I don't think anybody ever goes to my website, but I guess I need a website. I need some kind of branding out there. I need to be able to create presentations. I need to be able to tell people what I do. So when I tell you I use this method as my strategic planning, I do it all the time because it's so much easier. So I need. I can. So this is the other thing, is we are societally into a mindset of I can't. So there's a whole philosophy around self-limiting beliefs, what we can't do. And that's really how most of us are trained to think. So I'm going to invite you guys to reprogram a little bit and think I can. What can I do to move myself toward getting what I need and achieving what I want? I'll give you an example. If you wanted to give me something that you guys want to do with your business, or personally. Does anybody have something that they want for their business or themselves personally? Pardon me? Expand. So I want to expand my business. Thank you. Do you own your own lab? Yes. So I want to expand my business. So that's a nice, broad I want statement. So think about some things that you can do. Because what happens is we really start thinking about what we can't do. We think immediately, almost immediately in our minds, we start thinking, I don't have time. I don't have time to go out there and attract new doctors. I don't have time to go pick up the mini donuts and visit 5 offices. I don't have time to, where would I find them? So we think about what we can't do. And I would just say, think about what you can do. I can send a note to my best doctor, letting him or her know that that we have some capacity to take on other clients that are just like him or her. That is one of my marketing tips that I'm going to give you, unsolicited in this. Reach out to your best doctors on a regular basis and tell them that you have capacity to take on other doctors that are just like them. They worry that they're going to get passed to a different technician, or they worry they're not going to get the same quality of work. They worry you're going to get over busy. So you have to say, doctor, we have the capacity to take care of people, other doctors just like you. But we're selective. We only want doctors who are as committed to the quality of their work as you are, who are as committed to communicating with our lab and our technicians as you are, who see the patient as the ultimate consumer, just like we do. So we think in terms of what we can't do and all of our limiting things. And I'll tell you, I did an exercise where I wrote down all my I can'ts, because I just need to get that crap out of the way. So I've done that. When I really feel overwhelmed, I write down all my I can'ts. Just I give myself a little 5-minute, poor baby, you poor thing, you don't have enough resources, you poor baby. And then I get it onto I can. So what can I do? Does anybody have an I can thing that they're thinking about? I can work till 2 in the morning. I can work till 2 in the morning. And you can. You can work till 2 in the morning. And then you may want to not work till 2 in the morning. And maybe one of your I can things to do is I can take 30 minutes a week to work on my business instead of in my business. Do you know the difference between that? You guys work in your business every day, right? I have never met, and I've worked on the clinical side and the laboratory side, I have never met people who work as hard as dental technicians. I have never met people who work as hard as you do. The one thing, and when I was with NADL, we had this guy who wrote a book, Michael Gerber. He wrote this book called The E-Myth. It's kind of old now, but we had him speak for NADL one time. I mean, this is a massive business book, has nothing to do with dental laboratories, except in the book, his whole thing, the E stands for entrepreneurial, it's called the entrepreneurial myth. The whole thing is, he says, from the moment you open the doors to your business, you need to position your business to sell it. Oh. It's kind of offensive, right? It's like saying the moment you have your child, you need to think about giving them away. And you need to work tirelessly in this effort to give the child away. And you need to raise the child solely for the purpose of how much money you will get when you give them away. But that's the concept. So he says the E-myth, the entrepreneurial myth is this. You open your own business. Actually, I'm going to ask you guys, for those of you who are lab owners, what was the number one reason you opened your dental lab? What? I'm sorry? Control. Control over what?
My time.
Your time. Awesome. Pardon me? Don't give away the punchline. Control. Did anybody open their lab because you were working for somebody else and you thought, I could make more money doing this myself? Anybody do that? Yes. See, now we're building some trust here. That forearm thing, no, but now we're building some trust. So you opened your lab so that you could control your time. Maybe you opened your lab because you can control your money. Did you also open your lab thinking, well, I'm only going to work with a good dentist. I'm tired of working with these people who call me and yell at me or don't appreciate the work that I do. Anybody? Yes. Okay. So Michael Gerber, who has never been in a dental lab before, wrote a book 20 years ago called The E-Myth. In the book, he says, you know what the E-Myth is? All that. He said, you go to work for yourself, you open your own business so that you can be the master of your time, so that you have more time, so that you make more money because you're sure you can do it yourself. And because you can then pick the kind of business you want to work with and the kind of customers that you have. Literally in the book, he calls the person a technician. I swear to you, he uses the word technician. I read the book before I started with NADL, like right before, because it was just coming out. And then I went back and I was like, wait a second, I read it again. And Bennett, my partner, read it too. We were like, we got to get this guy to speak at NADL. We have to do it. Well, he charged like $1 million at the time, but we kind of like whittled it down. And he spoke at a small meeting, maybe like 100 people. This guy's used to speaking to like 10,000 people. So he said, that's the myth. You go from working for somebody else to opening your own business because you're going to get all these things. And then what happens? The business sucks you in and will suck the life out of you. Or maybe not. But he says the reason that it happens is because you lie to yourself and you spend all your time working in the business. And Michael Gerber says you need to spend some time working on the business. I was like, whoa, what would that look like? So what does working on your business look like? It is, I'm going to spend 30 minutes a week. I can, empower yourself, I can spend 30 minutes a week working on my business. Well, what would that 30 minutes be like? Sometimes the 30 minutes, I spend more than 30 minutes, but that's because I got the time, right? So the 30 minutes sometimes might be, I believe I want to attract some younger doctors. So I'm gonna create a social media presence. And I'm going to post on social media. Like how many of you when I say that are like, I hate that thought. You can tell me, it's okay. Yeah, I hate that thought. I don't really like that thought either, believe it or not. I'm not super social media bound. Like you can go through all my pictures. I mean, I don't think you care what I ate last night, but I mean, occasionally I feel like I made something really great for my family, and I will occasionally put something on my personal thing, but it's not because I was in a restaurant, it's because I made it, and I probably was feeling unappreciated that day, and I needed some love from people I don't know. So, so many insights into my life sometimes. But I can spend 30 minutes a week working on my business, trying to attract a different set of clients by posting something on social media. I could spend 30 minutes a week looking at gathering a list of doctors or calling 2 of my favorite doctors and telling them that I have some capacity and I'd love to find another, add another doctor to our client base. So I want you to think in terms of when you talk about expanding your business, what can you do to work on your business? I can. I will. So I think this is one of the big things that stands in our way. So if you get through I can, I will. So could you find, I keep using a half an hour, I keep using this as an example. I'm not saying this is the right thing to do. But could you make a half an hour in your work week to work on your business? Sure. I mean, we all could. The truth is that there's no more hours in my day than there is in anybody else's day. And I can tell you flat out that there are certain days, I keep thinking of things with bad words. I don't know why. This morning, this must be like my fear factor. I must be afraid I'm going to say a bad word because I keep thinking things with bad words. So I used to have this really good friend, and he would say, if he wasn't motivated that day, it was very Southern, he would say, I have a case of the, it's what we would call a donkey behind, right? So he would say that, today I have a case of the, doesn't make any sense, but that's what he would say. And he would say, I just want to sit on my all day. So these days when you're not that motivated, and it happens, right? Those like, you just rather drink like coffee and go back to bed. Everybody has those, and that's okay. But nobody has more hours in the day than anybody else. So how is it that some people like just do so much with the same hours that I can't seem to, want to make time for social media posts? And I think it's the I will. It is the I will. Because this sentence says what you're going to commit to. This is Don the doer says, this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I can do. That's all fantastic. Those are 4 great steps to a plan. This is the money step. What are we willing to do? Organize to achieve. Organize to achieve. So what does that mean to you? Yeah. And I'm sorry, I didn't have your name. Bianca. And to Bianca's point earlier, sometimes we create the plan and things that we can't control impact the plan, right? Like I had this amazing plan for this year. I actually had a full client base at the beginning of the year. And you know what my big struggle was at the beginning of the year is, how do I grow my business when I already have a full client base? Because I don't ever want to fire a client, right? I was lucky, I handpicked my clients. How do I grow my business if I already have a full client base? So I was thinking about how can I be more efficient with my time? I was thinking about, funny enough, how can I help some of my clients where I don't have to go there? Can I introduce more of my clients to Zoom? Funny enough, I've been working with Zoom for 3 years. And I had to explain to everybody up until February of this year what Zoom was. Everybody, I would always say the same thing. It's kind of like FaceTime. Do you have an iPhone? It's kind of like FaceTime. Did you ever use GoToMeeting? I mean, you can't imagine the amount of people I explained what Zoom was. But that was my big challenge. So I was creating a strategy around expanding my business while I still had a full client base and being more efficient with my time. So I use block scheduling, and it's a little bit like, I love block scheduling. And if you decide that you're going to work on your business, that sort of half an hour that I'm teasing about social media is a real thing in my schedule. So I sat down and I thought about what I needed to do to expand my business, and I thought about working on my business and working in my business. So I took the amount of hours I was obligated, contracted with my clients, and I put that in my schedule for the week. I said, okay, how many hours do I want to work a week? This is going to sound ridiculous to you guys. You're the only audience that this is the most ridiculous thing to say. So I said, I want to work 32 hours a week. Don't laugh at me, 2 a.m. Sorry, don't laugh at me. I wanted to work 32 hours a week because I had this fantasy that I don't want to work on Fridays. Does anybody else have this fantasy? Oh my gosh, I don't want to work on Fridays. Like, I'm cool with being here on Friday because I love this so much, because this doesn't feel like work to me, but I don't want to work on Fridays. And if you say that, like, people are like, she is so lazy. I'm not lazy, I just don't want to work on Fridays. I want to start my weekend Thursday. I don't care if I have to work till 2 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. I do not want to work on a Friday. So don't tell my clients, because they'll be really upset. And I will do it for certain clients, but I have like one Friday morning client that I speak to once a month as a check-in. And I do travel on Fridays often, but I don't want to work on Fridays. And so I tell some of my nonprofit clients, I just tell them, I'm booked on Fridays. And I have this acuity scheduling. I have this scheduling thing that I book myself out on Fridays. Do I work on Fridays sometimes? Yes, I do. Because I have to work on my business sometimes, and sometimes the week is just too busy, and I have to do it on a Friday. And I'm working on not getting embarrassed by telling people I don't want to work on a Friday. So I want to work a 32-hour work week. Am I there yet? No, it doesn't always work out. During COVID, I worked like an 8-hour work week sometimes, but I want to work a 32-hour work week. So I figure out how much of that time is my client time. But I know in order to grow a business, I need a certain amount of time in marketing, got to market the business, a certain amount of time in branding, which is different than marketing, a certain amount of time creating collateral and creating programs and pieces and the different things that help support my clients, whether it's a system I have to write down or whatever it is, I have to have a certain amount of time to do that. So I broke that down into like what percentage of my business that was, and then I put some time to it. So it's an hour a week in social media. It's still my least favorite thing. It's about an hour a week of marketing and branding, and so I broke that down. So I had to say to myself, I will make the time to work in my business, on my business rather than just in my business. And I will spend that time like this. So I then turned around and said, okay, I'm going to spend a certain amount of that time on social media posts, on accounting. How many of you do your own accounting or some of your own accounting, right? Billing. Who loves billing? God, I hate that stuff. But I have to do it. Because weirdly, you know what happens when I don't bill? I don't get paid. So I hate the billing part, but I like the getting paid part. How weird is that? So, but because of this, because I did it, I started to learn about the things I really hated, and then I started to find things that helped me automate those. So true, because I did this process, I learned some of the things that helped automate some of the stuff I hate. So that would be a takeaway that I would ask you to think about, is if you really don't like something, figure out if there's an easier way. Because I hate it, and I was sort of punishing myself by the way I was doing it too. So I tell myself this all the time. Nobody else is going to push you. You know how they talk about, like, you're running and you're kind of out on the edge? And I said, I never would let myself get out on the edge because I'm pretty sure there's nobody who's going to come running out to save me. So, You know that game of chicken? I'd be out there saying, I'm going to do it, I'm going to jump, and there would be nobody around. So you have to push yourself because nobody else is going to do it for you. If your business is successful, if you're a technician and you want to grow and you want to earn more money, you have to learn more. This is that type of business. You have to learn more. You have to do it faster. You have to do it better. Years ago, I was speaking in Montgomery, Alabama, and I was showing, we were talking about pricing. It was a tough time. It was when the industry was first facing offshore competition in a big way. Not in the, I mean, offshore competition's been, Costa Rica, everything's been in this business for a long time, but it was when we were really first starting to talk about offshore competition like China and what was really happening, which was a rapid de-escalation of fees, right? All of a sudden, doctors are calling you, asking you to make an $89 crown. And so I was showing some different, I showed some pictures, but some different kinds of crowns and some different pricing. We had done some surveys across the country about crown fees. So I was showing that, and so one gentleman stood up and he said, and there's, even today, there's wildly different fees for crowns. So this gentleman in Montgomery, Alabama stood up and he said, okay, he said, so what you're saying is tomorrow I should go out and raise my crown fee and charge $280 for my crown. Because one of my messages was, you have to be so careful you don't chase somebody else's pricing. And that's a whole other conversation, but I still believe that. Don't chase somebody else's pricing. Figure your own pricing. You have your own overhead, fixed and variable. You have your own set of circumstances. You have your own doctors. You have your own area. You have your own list of materials that you use, and all of those things are variables that go into pricing. This idea, and doctors do it too, of picking up a pricing sheet and copying somebody else's pricing is so ridiculous. That's like buying your wife the gift that somebody else's wife really wanted. If your neighbor's wife was dying for a Dyson vacuum cleaner and he bought her a Dyson vacuum cleaner, and out of the blue you come home and hand your wife a Dyson vacuum cleaner, you might get in trouble. True story, I had a friend of mine who bought his wife a pair of running shoes. They were married like 5 years total. She kind of casually said, oh, I think I'd like to get into working out. I've never run. I'm thinking about running. And he thought this was the greatest thing in the entire world, so he came home and bought her a pair of running shoes. Whoever laughed has been married a long time. No explanation, nothing like that, right? He just leaves this pair of running shoes and says, honey, I bought these for you. I think you can use them. Maybe because of this, but they're not married anymore. I don't think it's because of that, but I was like, not smart. So don't do your pricing based on somebody else's pricing. So this gentleman says, oh, so tomorrow I'll just go out and charge $280 for a crown. I'm just going to switch my crown fees and charge $280 for a crown. He said, what do you have to say about that? I said, you damn sure better produce a $280 crown. So we are all over the place in this industry, but you know your worth. Don't be afraid to charge it, but don't follow somebody else's. So you have to push yourself because nobody's going to do it for you. So this is it. This is the key, and it sounds so simple because it is. This is a personal strategic plan that also can be a business strategic plan. Also, they're recording this, but my email address will be on this too. You can email me. I wish you would. I can send this to you. I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody if you're stuck on something. I love to meet people. I love to interact with folks, and my whole joy in life is to help somebody kind of get through something. So I'm happy to chat with you anytime. I'll tell you how to work Zoom. So this is it. It's not that complicated. But if you get used to thinking in these terms, we fill in our own plan, and then you change it. You revisit it, Bianca, because things do change. What we want changes. I just have to expand my I am list. I am now my mother is going to have to go on my list. I'm not there yet. Part of my I will list is I will admit that I am my mother. I actually have never said it before today, so it's like a confession right here. But this is really super easy and fundamental. Here's what's not easy. Let's talk about this. So we do it. We say, okay, I am, I want, I need, I can, I will. All right, Ricki, we went along with you and we played this morning. What are some of the reasons that you've, abandoned is a really harsh word, but I'm going to probably say it. What are some of the reasons you haven't reached your goal? So Bianca said one of them, which is I made a plan, I made a goal, and then I had a plan for it, I made a strategy around it, and then things changed, circumstances changed, right? So I'm going to park that one because I believe that we have to have sort of an active working plan, like this 5 little sentences. So, because even when the things changed, what I wanted, which is to be successful and to expand my client base, that didn't change. My strategy on how I was going to get there changed. So I'm not afraid to change the strategy. I say this all the time when I work with larger organizations. Your values do not change. Your goals, your big goals don't change. Your strategies change all the time because things don't always work. Think back to when you were dating. When you were dating. You know, when you were out trying to meet people, certain strategies might not have worked. I know if you were a young man, you know this concept already. But certain strategies didn't work for you. You have to change your strategy. One of my friends, you know, in her early 30s decided it was time to get married, and she would tell the rest of us, I never meet anybody. I never meet. I'm thinking, how can this be? You are super attractive, you're really well educated, you travel all over the country with her job. When she was not working with her job, she was at home. So she never went anywhere. New strategy. I will create social environments outside of work. And she did. New strategy. So what are some of the things that stand in the way, that get in the way of you reaching your goal? Yes? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and is that a temporary thing or is that a permanent? Mm-hmm. 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 So what's your name? Garrett? I'm so sorry, I'm missing it. I'm still missing it. Thank you. Thank you, girlie. It's hard to hear sometimes. So some things like external factors like that, like needing something, and that thing that you need, supplies in this case, is not predictable. So that's one of the obstacles. So do you abandon what you want to do, or do you have to stretch the timeline? Depends. But if you want to be able to maintain a relationship with your doctors, what is one of the I will things or I can things? I can talk to my doctors about that. I can adjust the delivery time frame. It's so uncomfortable to do that, right? Because nobody wants to hear that right now. Yes, sir.
Well, with Interwad, you know,
So standing in the way, obstacles that are standing in the way is when you're dependent on somebody else. When you end up being in a situation where you need something and you can't get it from somebody else. Or you have to change all of your systems based on somebody else. It's odd times that we're living in. What are some of the other things? Does anybody struggle with motivation? Does anybody struggle with, I mean, somebody else said earlier that when I said I am, and they said I am motivated. Other people not supporting you? Do you ever try to make changes and then everybody else in the lab doesn't really like that idea? That never happens to lab owners ever. You come back, you have a really great idea, and the whole team goes, that's fantastic. This is the best idea ever. I can't wait to support you in this. It doesn't happen to you? When I worked at Pankey, it was important to me to determine the difference. So I was explaining this last night. Richard and I were talking, and I said, I like everybody in this room is a cut above the rest of the industry because you are taking the time to invest in yourself. And through that investment, you will improve your business, you'll improve your doctors, you will ultimately improve the outcome for the patients. You will. And I'm so impressed with that. So even though I was the CEO at Pankey, I'm impressed with any technician or doctor that takes advanced education. I don't care where you take it. I'm impressed with anybody who does that because the commitment to improvement is there. And I think that that is so important. So I had a bias for Pankey, of course. And I could tell you all the reasons I had that bias. But Dawson, Spear, they all learned at Pankey. Coyce, all the same occlusal philosophy. And then LVI has a different occlusal philosophy. But I have some appreciation for that, too, because he didn't copycat. He went out and made up his own. I think it's crazy. No, I don't. But he went out and made up his own. But the point is that all those people who go to those places are trying to advance themselves. And they're trying to do something better for their patients. So when I was there, I went to our faculty and I said, hey, I just kept straw polling. I kept reaching out to doctors after they'd take classes with us, and I'd ask them, what's the number one reason, or how have you implemented what you learned? And they would tell us, I implemented 10% of it, or I implemented 50% of it, or whatever it is. And we'd follow up with them immediately, a month, 3 months, 6 months, have they implemented what they've learned? So what the number one thing that came back, or a couple things that came back, is time. I'm really short on time. So implementing something new, a new habit, takes time. If I said tomorrow, okay guys, everybody in this room, we're going to commit to starting a workout strategy where we're going to commit to a workout program where we all run 2 miles a day. Who's in with me? Nobody, right? Nobody wants to do it. Yes, thank you. 2 miles a day we're going to run. And then if I said, go, how many people by the end of next week would be like, we are not returning Ricki's texts? She's going to ask me if we run that 2 miles, and I'm going to have to say no. Because we didn't do anything to plan for that, and because it takes time to adjust our schedules to do something new, right? So time was one of the things that doctors would tell me was an impediment, an obstacle to implementing what they learned. So another one was team. They had a really hard time getting their team on board with things. So they wanted to try to figure out, how do I get other people to understand why I'm doing this and what I want to do? So when we were at Pankey, and then the third one was money. Money. It's sometimes expensive to take the time to implement something new. And besides the cost of going to, buying a new system or buying new teeth, I mean, there's a cost factor in that. So when I was at Pankey, I went back to our faculty and I said, hey, every class we do, every single solitary course we do here, I want there to be 3 C's that have to be part of the course. It doesn't have to be on the course syllabus, but our faculty has to achieve these 3 things. I said, okay, what do you want to do? And I said, in every course, we need to make sure that we intentionally raise the doctor's competency, meaning they need to know more, they need to be more competent than before they took the course. Sounds silly, but you have to have it in there. The second thing is we have to figure out how to support them so they are more confident. That is one of the biggest reasons doctors don't do something new. It's not that they don't know it and they didn't take the course. It's that they're not confident that they can actually perform the procedure. So they need to be competent and they need to be confident. The last C was compensated. Doctors don't count any better than the rest of us. As a matter of fact, they're not super good counters. So they need to be compensated. They need to understand how to make money with this new thing. So those were the 3 things that I wanted them to be able to do. So obstacles for them were time and team, but if we left them with being more competent, more confident, and knowing how to make money, then my job was to come in and help coach them in how to talk to their team. So think about the obstacles that stand in the way, because these are all the things that keep us from beginning this path to where we really want to be. Most of us see, when we start something new, most of us see this. We see this kind of wall like this. I want us to see this. So last thing I'm going to tell you this morning is about ambiguity. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with ambiguity, but there's something called an ambiguity tolerance, and it's what stands in the way of us making a decision. Every day we're faced with 1 billion different decisions, and there are 3 different kinds of ambiguity tolerances. So how many of you, if I said what stands in the way of you making a decision? Too much information? How many of you feel really overwhelmed when there's too much information, and when there's too much information you're like, I'm backing away from this, I can't make a decision. There's just too much information. Too much information? Okay, so your ambiguity tolerance, too much information. For other people, it's not enough information. I need to know more. There's not enough information here, so if I don't feel like I have enough information, I don't make any decision. The third tolerance is conflicting information. Conflicting information. I'm not overwhelmed by too much information. I'm not overwhelmed with too little information. It's when I have conflicting information that I freeze up and I can't make a decision. So I tell you that because it's important for you to know about what your ambiguity tolerance is so that you understand what stands in the way of you making a decision. Does everybody understand that ambiguity tolerance thing? Can anybody see how that gets in their way? Like for me, it's conflicting information, 100%. Too little information, I just think, you know what? This is the best that I can do. I'm going to make a decision with the information that I have, which I know freaks other people out. But I'm like, okay, it is what it is. I'll make a decision with the information that I have. There's not too much information for me. There just isn't. I can wade through a lot of information. It doesn't bother me at all. It's conflicting information. So imagine how I felt at the beginning of COVID when it was like everything there was so much conflicting information that I finally was like, I'm not going to watch the news. I'm just going to stay at home. I'm going to do my front yard happy hour. I would not watch the news in my house. I did not watch the news for like 7 or 8 days. No news whatsoever. No news on the internet, no news on television, didn't listen to the radio. There could have been a nuclear disaster in another part of the world and I would not have known. And I was fierce about that. I just had conflicting information overload. It wasn't that there was too much information. It was that from day to day, I was like, I have a plan. I know what's going on. There's a lot of information, but I understand it. And then the next day, somebody else would expound something that basically directly conflicted with the first thing that I thought I had a handle on. And I could not handle it. Like, it just shut me down. I pulled the ripcord. I was like, peace, I'm out. I'm gonna have a, gin gimlet in my front yard and wave to people on my street, and that's it. And if waving to people on your street, if they had come out with that was gonna kill you, I'd have been dead about April 1st. Because I just couldn't handle it. So I have to know that about myself. And why is that important? Because it's what supports or stands in the way of my decision making. It's what supports or stands in the way of my decision making. So if I was running into a supply chain issue, I would have to know, how do I best make decisions? Do I need a lot of information, not enough information, conflicting information? So here's a couple of other things to decision roadblocks. How many of you feel like you just need some time to think? How many people think that they're quick decision makers? Quick decision maker, yeah. Most of you are slower decision makers? You like to be more methodical, you need time to think? There's some science behind the time to think. And it's, sometimes the time to think actually stands in the way of us making a decision. Have you ever heard the term analysis paralysis? Like we roll the information around in our head so much, we kind of get ourselves stuck. So there's science behind taking time to think does anybody get stuck in the process of thinking and doesn't make a decision? No? Yeah, that happens. Actually, this is pretty common, and many people in our industry are analytic. And analytic people do tend to like to mull things over. And I actually coach a lot of people that, even on the clinical side, that this is a real challenge to them making business decisions because they spend a lot of time in the thought process, and then they think so much they have a difficult time making a decision. So one of the things that I like to help them with is upfront, create some certain benchmarks so that you don't get stuck in the thinking process. And one of them is give yourself a deadline. Say, hey, I need some time to think about this. And let's say it's Friday. Let's say it's 9:30 in the morning. And I say, okay, Ricki, you can have until when? You can have until Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning. So I give myself a self-imposed hard deadline. I will make a decision about this. I can take the next 4 days to research it, talk to other people, think it through. But I will make a decision on this by 9:30 on Tuesday morning. Because I do understand that I need to make this decision in order to move myself forward. So one of the things is a deadline. The other thing is figuring out what I'm afraid of or what I hope to achieve with this decision. So do you know the number one thing that stands in the way of people making a decision? What's the thing when you're making a decision, what's your number one fear? My wife. Keep that one. Yeah, it's that we're afraid that we will make a mistake. We're afraid that we're going to make the wrong decision. So the wrong decision to us, usually, I'm defining this for you, but the wrong decision usually means I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake. It's going to cost you money, right? It's going to cost us time. But what we're really afraid of is that the mistake is irrevocable. That the mistake that we make can't be undone. So one of the things that I like to coach my clients through is let's talk about the decision. Like first of all, let's whittle it down. You decide yes or no. So if you decide no, what are the possible ramifications of that decision? And one of the things most of the time that they'll figure out is, well, I can come back later and say yes. There are few decisions that you can't revisit. Yes or no. There are a few decisions. Pregnancy, can't revisit that. But even getting married, you can revisit it. It's expensive, but you can revisit it. But there are a few decisions. So I like to walk through that process with my clients. My clients that have a difficult time with their decision-making process is what are the ramifications of the decision. Is it irrevocable? Can we give ourselves a safety net in it? Because our number one thing is we're afraid that we make a mistake. This is a mistake, right? We cannot put that scoop of ice cream back in the cone. You can. But I have a dog, so if this happened in our house, that would have been gone like that. I know dogs aren't supposed to eat chocolate, but my dog doesn't know that. And she has eaten chocolate in her lifetime, and every time we're scared it's going to kill her. So this is a mistake. I can't put that back in the cone. But I can get a different one. If I really wanted to, I could. But I can just get a different one. That's our number one fear, is it's irrevocable. Very similar to that, our secondary fear is the impact our mistake will make on other people. Especially if you're a business owner, right? If you're a business owner, you're scared. I'm going to use that word. We're scared that the decision we make today, if we make a mistake, will impact our what? Our families, our teams, their families. When I went to Panky, they had like almost no money. They were very, very close to going out of business. And I would lie in bed at night because I wanted to do these initiatives. And I would, of course, during the daytime, I was very confident about it, and I would spell it out, and the whole team would come together. We would create the strategy around it. I would say, there are no mistakes. I trust you guys. This is a good plan. We're going to go forward with it. I would lie in bed at night, 2 o'clock in the morning. I have a 2 o'clock in the morning voice. I call her Sheila. And Sheila would say to me, are you crazy? You're going to put this company out of business, and 16 families are going to have no income. Way to go. Does anybody else have a middle of the night voice? That might just be me too. Oh, man. Is yours nice? Because mine is not. It's like a video. And it's the failure video? Oh, do you have a good video? You get up here. No. Your name is? Rod. So Rod said the best thing, and this is part of what my will, I can, is conditioning your brain. He said, I conditioned my brain. He conditioned his brain to play the good video, which is the I can video, I will video. That's the positive thing. They both live in there. The 2 o'clock in the morning person for me is Sheila. Sheila is not nice. I don't know how she lives with me. If I get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, Sheila is the person who tells me it's all going to... Sheila was the person who in the middle of COVID was like, we're never coming out of this. The bank is going to come to get your house, but they can't because they're going to be afraid to get COVID, so they're going to have to stand on the street and yell at you. I was like, how can you repossess a house if you're not allowed to get within 6 feet of me? Good luck. So that's the voice that always makes me doubt. And then the reprogrammed voice that says, hey, you made a plan. You know what you can do. You know what you will do. Instead of thinking about what the implications of the negative thing is and how it affects everybody, the video I like to play is the positive one. You made a good decision. 16 families will eat. 16 people will grow and thrive.
By the way, those 2 voices that work for me.
They work for me?
Yeah.
Sheila's not that motivating. Is that what you're thinking? She's not very motivating.
You control them.
Yeah, you do control them. You're absolutely right. You control those voices. But they do live there, and they both live within us. But it's kind of what I said in the beginning when I talked about I can. We are sort of programmed. I don't know if this is every country, but I think in the United States, we're kind of programmed to think about what we can't do. We're kind of programmed for fear. We're kind of programmed for all these obstacles, right? Like we're sort of programmed if we didn't struggle, it wasn't, if it wasn't difficult to attain, it wasn't worth it. If you didn't have to work super hard, if you didn't have to work till 2 o'clock in the morning, you aren't going to get there. I think there's a smarter way, but this is one of the obstacles. So I'm going to tell you about things that can support you through it. I was a cheerleader. But in this aspect, I'm going to say, I think we all need a cheerleader. We need a squad. We need our tribe, whatever you want to call them. Who are the people or person? Can each of you think of at least 3 people in your life that you would go to, that you trust with a complete vulnerability, whether it's your best day or your worst day? These are the people who believe in you and don't expect you to be perfect. Does everybody have like who's your number 1 person? Somebody tell me the name of your number 1 person. Yeah. What's his name? Victor. So Victor's your cheerleader. He's the head of your squad. Good for you, Victor. I know. Men can be cheerleaders. They're good. Who? What? No, you can't make the gesture from the back. Hey, Larry set the tone. Who else? Who's a cheerleader? Who's the head of your squad? Who's the person that believes in you that you can go to good day, bad day?
My secretary.
Your secretary. What's her name?
Rola.
Rola?
Yes.
That's a beautiful name. She's your wife. She's your wife. You're her secretary. You just don't know it. I should have said that. I should disclose my bias. So my bias is I'm a very, very big feminist. I believe that the only reason that men think they rule the world is because we're busy. We're busy. And everybody in this room knows what I mean by we. Who else? So I noticed that you guys are twins. Are you each other's big head cheerleader? Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a twin, but I have 3 sisters. And the bond is unbreakable. I could call my sisters at any time, and right this second, I could call my youngest sister at this exact second and say, "Hey, I'm in the middle of this presentation. I'm on the stage. I have a question." She wouldn't be like, "What?" She'd say, "Great, what is it?" And then I bet you she would say at some point in time before we hang up, I bet you she would say, "I bet you're killing it." I'd be like, "Shh, they can hear you." So it's so important, and I think we're sort of programmed out of this. We're kind of programmed into, we need to do it alone. We don't need anybody. I'm the boss. Therefore, I have to be the smartest. I have to know the most. I have to have the most energy. I have to be the leader. My secret to success in leadership, I was never the smartest. My team members were always smarter than me. Collectively, they were geniuses. Somebody always had a better idea than I had. I just would have the launch idea. And I needed a tribe. I have always needed a tribe. I grew up with sisters. I think it was inbred in me that I needed a tribe. But I never gave up that thought. This is a tough business. And this has been a tough year. Gather your tribe. Know who your squad is. Reach out to them. Conversely, are there people in your life that drain energy for you? Can you think of anybody in your life that kind of sucks the energy away? Energy drainer. Oh my gosh, so this is seriously a text from my sister that said, "Bet you're killing it this morning." I swear to you, right there. Don't tell her if I didn't. It will crush her. So who are the people, I love her so much. Who are the people in your life who are there? Or maybe they're not. Is there anybody in your life that you can think of that you think, man, this person does not add to me. This person takes. Anybody? Then you're not in my life anymore. Then you're not in my life anymore. You are the CEO of your life. You are the CEO of your life. Hire, fire, and promote accordingly. Bring the people in that make your life better, to make your business better, make the world better. Fire the people who do not. I say I'm friendly to everybody because I just genuinely like people. I'm just not friends with everybody. But I'm friendly with everybody. I have a lot of people who I'm friends with on Facebook. I met somebody today. Where's Lauren? People that I'm friends with on Facebook. And especially the last couple of months, there's been a lot of strife. There's been a lot of people. There are people who Facebook is an amazing platform for them to share what they think and feel, share what they ate, share pictures of their kids. I'm okay with that. It's not my platform necessarily. I may use it for business, and I'm curious about, what's going on with people, and I like that we can feel like we're connected to people even though we live in different states and on different sides of the country. I like that. The people person in me likes that. I like that I have 1,500 people that I'm friends with that I don't barely know, but I like that too. And I like that they invite me in to see a part of their life, and it's their choice. And I actually don't even have a big issue when people post. Most of my friends have very different political views than I do. Very different. I'm very curious about that. That doesn't bother me either. I know people get offended, like, oh, he always posts about this. And then I saw this huge wave in the middle of this pandemic of people unfriending people because they didn't agree with them. I don't agree with my husband. I go buy shoes. I don't I don't torpedo the relationship. We don't vote the same. I still love him. I just feel like I cancel out his vote every time. I do. I'm like, did you vote today? Or I voted and he didn't one time. He was sick. And I was like, yes! I'm competitive too. But I don't, so I don't mean fire somebody for your life. For me, that doesn't work for my life. I like dissension. I like different personalities. I like different opinions. I do. I think it's important. I think it's incredibly important when I've run companies. I like the team member that doesn't care that I'm the CEO and will say, Ricki, I know you shared that idea, but I have another thought. Awesome. I want that other thought. I want you to tell me why you think it's not going to work. Because my brain has programmed a path to I think this might work. I need somebody else's brain that's going to show me where the holes in the idea are. I like it. I want it to be respectful. Don't let me get the whole idea out and then come at the end and go, yeah, I knew that wasn't going to work. That will make me mad. But while we're in the room, I trust I'm not the smartest. So I like other people's ideas. I routinely ask a friend, a real good friend of ours, who has very strong political opinions that are different than mine. I routinely ask him to tell me more about that. I mean, sometimes in the middle of the conversation, I think to myself, really? But every time I learn something I didn't know. I don't always agree with it, but I learned something I didn't know. I would challenge you to think about that with your teams too. Everybody on your team has something valuable to offer. I told Richard the story last night too, very quickly. When we were trying to figure out something about engagement with some doctors, and we were in a full team meeting, and it was my administrative team that's mostly tasked with this. So they were trying to figure it out. It was somebody on our clinical team, actually our laboratory technician on our clinical team. She's brilliant. She said, how about I do this? And she realized, because she was on our clinical team, she had an engagement with the doctors in their laboratory setting and in the clinical setting where they trusted her and they were used to interacting with her. And she saw the level that she knew kind of where they were and what was challenging them in the learning process because she was in it with them. So rather than, her suggestion was rather than have an admin person follow up with them about what's challenging them on implementation when they get back, how about she calls them? I was like, she is a genius. But it's because you have to create a culture where everybody gets some buy-in and where we begin to listen and tolerate other people's opinions and thoughts, even if they don't align with our own. And then promote the people in your life. And when I say that, it's that we often think we don't have enough time for things. We often neglect relationships that are important to us, but we neglect them because we know that the person's going to still be there. So elf on a shelf, you know that? So one of my girlfriends and I say that we're friend on a shelf. Like, I'll be here when you come back around. Just kind of hanging out, waiting for the season to come back. But we should promote those relationships and not ignore them. So this has been a bit of a crazy year. I am known in my own family as a cheerleader, and I think that it's been a difficult year for me to watch other people suffer and struggle with their businesses. I had several of my friends that were furloughed, laid off. I worked with doctors who had amazing practices that were closed for some period of time. You guys all felt that too. I worked with some nonprofits that struggled mightily through this. And it's just been a tough year. And I think even beyond COVID, it's just emotionally a tough year, not really knowing what's going to happen next. I mean, as simple or as not as complex as it is about a supply chain being broken, you know, and having to change an entire part of your business because you just don't know if you're going to be able to get those materials that you use and you depend on. That living on the edge of uncertainty is really tough. This is one of the most resilient businesses I've ever met, though. I mean, this is an unbelievably resilient profession. You guys are gritty. You just figure out how to do it better. So I'm going to suggest you think about something great that you can do in this next chapter that you're going into. Because you're incredibly passionate people. Nobody does this kind of like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll be a dental technician. I mean, I'll just give that a wing. It's in my spare time. I know, I'll open a lab. Yeah, I mean, that's a good hobby, right? That doesn't take 12 hours of your day or anything. You can do that. You heard this term side hustle? That could be your side hustle, right? If I side hustle, I own a lab. No, nobody said that ever. Nobody ever said that, ever. Somebody's going to come back and like text me and be like, yeah, the lab is my side hustle. No, it's not. You're lying. This is actually a mug that I have that's on my desk. This is my desk. And I love this so much. No matter where I've been in my career, I always think there's something more. And I don't mean more like in the grubby sense, like I need more money. I mean, I believe that your real true north in life is that God gave you a unique gift and your job is to figure out how to improve the world with it. And so I feel like this every day. I did not come this far only to come this far. There is something else. There is something more. I know what my more is. My more is if you leave today and even a small one thing inspired you to think something different, inspired you to rekindle a relationship, to make sure that your video that plays in your head at 2 a.m. is positive, to set some intention, to realize that you have some control over your direction, even with COVID, even with working in dentistry, even with the supply chain interruption. If I could do that, if each one of you just had one thing, then I've come further than I did yesterday morning at the same time. I really believe that. This is something else that's important to me. Time is a very important thing to me. I think we take it for granted. Certainly when my children were growing up, it happened like that, like everybody who is old told me it would. It definitely did that. I don't take any days for granted. You're not getting today back. I am trading a day in my life for this. For me, this is really well worth it. I love this day. I'm incredibly honored to be with you. I know the kind of work that you do. For me, you all are heroes. I love that you change people's lives that you've never seen, that will never say thank you to your face. I hope you don't forget that. So it's an honor for me to trade one of the days of my life to be here with you. And in March, when this was originally put on, it was an easy trade for me. I was invited. I was like, yes. Love the laboratory industry. Yes, I want to do this. And then in March, when they had to postpone the meeting, and I got an email that said, Ricki, will you do it in the first week of October? I said, yes, 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 want to do it, yes. When you open, I'm there. And then a month ago, Richard called me, and he said, hey, we're just checking in with you. We're still doing the meeting. Are you still in? And I said, yes. Yes, I'm still in. And that day that he called me, I was in a hotel room in Gainesville, Florida, because the man that I love was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And we were at Shands getting that diagnosis. So my last month has been a really interesting tidal wave for my family. We had to tell our children that we don't know what our future looks like. And that news changed their lives. But I believe each day is a day that you make a choice for. And yesterday morning, when I got on a plane and said goodbye to him, he said, you're trading a day in your life for this. Go make it your best day. So I am not spouting BS. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I need. I know what I can do, and I know what I will do. And I hope that each of you are inspired to make just one small thing to help you live to who you are and get what you want. I have a blog that I do. It's called Beyond a Pep Talk. As much as I like being a cheerleader, I also like sharing some ways that you can be a better leader. Even if you do not own your own business, that's okay, because I believe we all started as leading ourselves. You are the CEO of yourself. So I'm happy to have you sign up for that if you would like. This is my contact information. Please do reach out. I am happy. I do something with Zoom where I call it a virtual coffee. You can schedule a virtual coffee, and we will just chat about what's going on in your life and get to know each other a little bit better. I am a professional coach, so that's a success coach. Means I come in and work with businesses all the time, everything from leadership and management to setting your own goals. I do work with dental practices as well. And honestly, truthfully, I'm not going to be able to stay through the entire conference. I am leaving this afternoon because, like I said, I left somebody super important to me at home. But it really, genuinely, sincerely has been my honor to be with you all this morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy that this is where I chose to be this morning, and I'm really, really honored that this is where you chose to be too. So thank you so much for You have some announcements to make, sir?
So
Let's give her another round of applause.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we got just a few little things. Maybe I wasn't as clear as I needed to be. The place your rear end is sitting right now is the place that rear end needs to be sitting the entire weekend. We don't change places because we're going to be in the same chair, okay? It's okay to get up and mingle. There's going to be a dense supply van out front because we couldn't drive it upstairs. You know, it was going to be on the floor downstairs. So the dense supply truck will be here today out front for y'all to go see all their little gadgets. I know they're probably trying to cover up a bunch of wounds now that they're not doing a whole bunch of stuff for us anymore. But hey, they're doing what they can. They're doing what they can. So, speaker gifts. I just want to tell y'all one little thing about this little speaker gift. The guy that made these is sitting right back over there. His name is Glenn Cummings. He invented this knife. This is my go-to knife in the lab. It's made for making post dams, but there's a ton of other things you can do with it. He's going to have a table out back over here when you come out of the exhibit hall. Y'all stop by and look at it. We're giving each one of the speakers this as a gift. So if y'all want one, y'all might go over there and talk to him about it, okay? Our next guy